Get started. It's been a long morning, y'all. With everything that's happened through the night, my mind's a little bit scattered. Did I miss anything, Tawana? Did I get everything that we need to talk about? Okay, good. So I can preach. I can do that. All right. So we're in a series called Stories, and one of the powerful things that I want to get across to everybody is that we all have a story. Everybody here has a story. We have sad stories. We have happy stories. Hopefully in our life, the happy stories outweigh the sad stories. But the one thing that is powerful about this is that when God does something in our lives and changes something, shows up in some great way and makes a way where there seems to be no way, like we were talking about, then I think it's very important for us as believers to know that we have a responsibility to share that story. And that's what this entire series has been about, is helping encourage you to share your story. Today I'm going to do it just a little bit differently, simply because of how I want to do some scripture. But here's how I'd like to start. I would like to start with this story.
My story really starts when my earliest memory, I think, is when I was around 5. You know, I grew up in the projects in East Nashville. I can remember I was playing with my best friend in the backyard, and we're still friends today, and I'm almost 50 years old. And I can remember my dad coming out the backyard, and I asked him, I said, "Hey, Dad, where are you going?" He said, "I'm going to the store." I said, "Can I come with you?" He said, "No." And I asked him, would he bring me some candy back? He said, "Yeah." And he didn't come back. And I remember going to sleep that night thinking, all right, when's he coming back? I just remember being, at first I was sad, but then I could remember, you know, a few years later, that turning into, I was mad. Got into a lot of fights. And every time I got beat up, I would blame my dad. You know, he was supposed to be there protecting me. And he wasn't. I can remember I was so angry. Another memory that the Lord just kept bringing back to me was, I think I was around 10 and hadn't learned how to ride a bike yet. But I could remember on my birthday, Dado and Granny came over, and boy, they gave me this big, huge bike. No training wheels, nothing. And boy, I was so happy and so proud, because it was awesome. It was the best. I had the best bike in the neighborhood. And about 2 months after I learned how to ride the bike, me and a bunch of my buddies, you know, back then you'd ride over a buddy's house and you just leave your bike there. And I can remember coming out of the house, everybody's bike was there but mine. That taught me 2 lessons. One, you don't want to have the best bike because yours is the one going to be taken. But it also taught me kind of a negative lesson, that if you want something, you just take it. Okay, I took somebody's bike back. Yeah, what I did was wrong. But at the time, I didn't think anything about it. That one event, I think, kind of changed some of the directions that my life did go. I think I was around 14, and my dad had reached out to him, kind of wanting to, you know, meet us or see how we've grown up. So my mom did the right thing. She agreed. There was no emotional attachment there, because I'd never You know, I'd never felt the Father's love before, so I didn't know. Heck, I didn't know what I was missing. So me and my mom were starting to, you know, like any 14 or 15-year-old, I was starting to turn into a jerk, you know, as I look back now. So I told her, I said, I want to go live with my dad. Went to East Tennessee, and I couldn't connect. I wasn't, you know, looking back, I know why, but I couldn't, there just wasn't that connection there from me to him. I'd kind of devised a little plan to get back at him. I could remember the day where I felt, all right, he loves me. And I can remember coming home from school that day and telling him, I said, take me home. The whole way, I never said one word to him. Never said one word to him. The house, so we pulled up in the driveway at the house, and I could remember looking at him. He had tears in his eyes, and I looked right at him and said, now, you know how I felt when I was 5. Got my stuff, slammed the door, went in the house. I fell back into all right, you just take whatever you need. Well, I didn't physically hurt anybody, but I could see now that I hurt people. I felt bad about what I did to my dad. I did. And long story short, I moved back up to East Tennessee. Me and him kind of mended some things, because I think he realized he did wrong as well. And again, man, started hanging around the wrong people, and ended up getting arrested and put in jail for something that I didn't do. And it wasn't a little slap on the wrist. I could have done probably 15 or 20 years for what they said I did, but I knew from the beginning, I said, I didn't do what they said I did. And I could remember the first time I went to court, the public defender trying to get me to say, yeah, I did this. And he's like, well, you'll get out in a few months. And I'm like, but I didn't do that. I'm not. Long story short, I was there for a year. And it went all the way to a jury trial. I could remember selecting the jury. I could remember everything about it. But one thing I do remember, my attorney told me, he said, all right, after this is all said and done, if the jury stays out for a long time, it's not good. They struggle with sending people to jail for long periods of time. And I could remember telling him, I said, I didn't do anything. I didn't do what they said I did. And I can remember when it was all over and the jury went out, they were going to take me back downstairs, and here they come out. They said they're already back. Took them every bit of, I think, 10 minutes. So I'm there in East Tennessee. Jury comes back and said, hey, this guy's innocent. He didn't do what they said. I didn't do what you said he did. So now I'm alone. And during that year, I saw a lot of bad people there. And so when I got out, I hitchhiked back to Nashville, because I knew that's where my family was. I still didn't really look at my dad as family, so I came back to Nashville. I could remember the last ride that I got. It was a long ride too, luckily. And got in the car, and the first thing he started talking about was, do you know Jesus? You know, I was raised in church. And so we talked about the Lord all the way back. And he dropped me off over on Murfreesboro Road. He said, man, this is a tough neighborhood. Is there any place you want me to take you? I said, no, this is good. I said, I grew up in a tough neighborhood, so I'm fine. So I walked from there to the Nashville Union Mission. And I could remember sleeping there a couple nights. And I was still a kid. Heck, I think I was 19, I can remember a gentleman coming up to me and saying, "Hey, you don't need to be over here with these guys. You don't. We've got a young men's program that I think you'd be perfect for."